Hi, Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and here's another interview in my series of interviews with subscribers. Enjoy. Hello, everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and I have another great interview today with a very interesting person. And I know she's going to be very interesting, and you're going to enjoy this. And her name is Ellen, and she comes from Campbell's Creations. And we're going to talk all about her YouTube channel and other things in a few moments. But right off the bat, what I want to get started with is I just want a little background information about yourself, meaning where are you calling from? Where are you located?
Well, I'm located in Indiana. It's Lafayette, Indiana, the home of Purdue University. And I'm happy to be here this morning.
Well, I'm really happy you agreed to an interview because I have been looking at some of your work, and we're going to talk about some of your work, especially the one with the ladies behind you, because that one fascinates me. Well, we'll come to that. But what I'm going to ask right now is, how long have you been quilting?
Oh my gosh. I have been quilting a very long time. I started out very young, around the age of 8 years old, helping my mom. We used to, she have a pull-out sofa in the living room area where everybody could just sit around the quilt, and she would let all the girls pitch in and help. She was the mother of 9 children, and it was like 5 girls and 4 boys.
Oh, wow, big family. So I guess then you come that's how you really got started then into quilting, because you had all of this background with your mother. So I was going to say, did anyone in your family influence you? Well, obviously your mother, but did you have any other quilt? Was your mother a quilter or just a sewer?
Yes, I had plenty influence. My mother was a sewer and a quilter because we did our quilting by hand back in that day. And I also had an auntie that did a lot of quilting and sewing, and she did it by a domestic sewing machine.
Oh, okay.
And it was just house fulfilled, loving time, spending time with sisters and brothers and mother, sitting down when it wasn't harvest time, because I am from the South.
Right. So a lot of farming community out there in the whole bit. And yes, a few generations in my family too, they were farmers. So I do know, when the crops are ready, everything else has to be cropped because you got to get them in with that. So yeah, and it's hard work. It's very hard work as well. So the quilts that your family were making, your auntie and your mother and even yourself, were they more utility quilts? Did you use them a lot, or were they just made for gifts? Or
Yes, we used them a lot. They was for in-home uses. Um, a lot of them was heavy for the brutal winters we was having at that time. And this was all in the state of Mississippi. We used to get some good amount of snow and ice on the roads and stuff. And back then, we used what we had. We would take clothing and turn them into quilts.
yeah, well, I know a lot of people back in that time period, fabric was what we are so used to today with what we can pick from. Didn't have a choice then. So you use whatever you could find. And especially if you're making quilts that you meant to use, you, yeah, you had to use what you found with it. It's not like
Yes.
today we're much more governed towards the design elements and art idea of quilts. We forget that the roots of quilts were really to be a practical thing to keep you warm.
Yes.
So, do you have a favorite creation, and if so, why?
Yes, I do have a favorite. And my favorite is the applique drawings that I do, such as this quilt behind me. I just love, love, love doing those. I have a few more patterns I'm working on, and one of them is of a sea turtle, and the other one is of a ladybug, but I'm working on them to get them kind of mapped out to where it could be a pattern.
So let's talk a little bit about your process then. Since I'm looking at that beautiful quilt behind you, or I guess it's not done yet, or is it? Is that
Oh, it's done. It's completely done.
because the reason I said that is because from my angle, I'm seeing the ladies on there, which are applique, obviously. But I was just looking at the rest of it, the way, and I'm a little distant from it. So, but it is beautiful. It's striking. So do you draw all the designs yourself for the applique?
Well, yes, I have a process of how I draw it out, and I also have the old school projector. You know, film projector or pictures like the one we used in school,
Yes.
old school one, and it really helps me. I transfer my drawing onto a sheet protector, and I take that sheet protector and line it up on the projector where it can project to the wall. And I try to do it in a dark room so everything will show up very clearly. And then I just take my permanent black markers and just draw out, you know, my lines.
Right. And you're drawing that onto paper to make a pattern. Is that
Correct?
Okay.
Yes.
From there, you can lay your pattern pieces down onto your fabric, cut them out, and then put them in. Now, do you do turned edge applique, or you know, what's the other one called? The one that everybody uses all the time because it's easier. You know, glue it down. What do they call it? A raw edge.
Heat and bond or interfacing with a adhesive facing or backing on it.
Right. So you're not doing needle turn then. You're using that to stick it down onto your fabric and then sewing around it.
Well, actually, on this one here, I'm not doing needle turn. What I used is washable Elmer's glue.
Oh.
And I took the Elmer's glue and I went around all the raw edges, and I laid a small thin bead down, and I took my iron and ironed it to seal it so it won't move. And once I got it done on all the pieces, I went back and I did the same thing to iron it to the foundation fabric.
Oh, okay.
Once I ironed it to that foundation fabric, then won't nothing move. I went back and took my sewing machine and sewed everything down.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I've not really heard of anybody using the glue before, but that makes it easy. So you use the glue instead of using like a steam or bond?
I didn't use any of those. I just used the washable Elmer's glue. And the glue works so wonderful. I have started purchasing my glue in a large size container.
I actually have one of those containers. Yeah. That's great. Okay. Next time I'm doing applique, I'm going to try your method because I hate, you know, having to make that seam and stuff stick to the back of them. Make sure you get it on the, you know, if you've got directional, get it the right way. I always screw up on that. But yeah, I'm going to definitely try that. I actually have a big container of that same glue. It's from the past. Yeah, but I used to be a paper crafter. So I've got some of that. So, you know, it's just been sitting on this shelf because I do quilting now. You
will need one bottle of the school Elmer's glue because it has that little nozzle on there, and I just refills and put the nozzle back on there and lay a small bead of that and put the hot iron on it, and it stays put.
Great idea. Well, I have learned something already today, and I'm sure I'm going to learn more. So, I wanted to ask you though, since you've got working on some patterns, do you make your patterns available to the public? Like, do you sell them or?
Well, I have not done so. I have been thinking of doing so, but before I go forward, I wanted to legally get it copyrighted, and I have been doing stuff under nonprofit and stuff like that, but things gonna change for me in the future, and I'm gonna come out a nonprofit and go to LLC, and then I'll be able to do all those things.
Okay, well, that's great because I know just I would be buying that pattern with the ladies in it for sure. That one is just so fascinating. I love it. And the fabric that you used in that, is that African fabric?
No, it's not.
Feel.
Yes, it have an African feel. I actually purchased that fabric at Walmart.
Oh, you're kidding.
I got it at Walmart, and I was trying to choose fabric that would give me that African feel, and I chose the centerpiece because the centerpiece is more of a, it have like a satin, not satin, it have like a shiny satin finish to it, but it's cotton. And it was that good kind of cotton, like upholstery fabric, something like that. I used that home interior fabric, and it made it look just that, the view you get now.
So you're not a purist then. You don't believe you have to do everything out of 100% quilting cotton. You seem to mix.
No.
Yeah, that must be the artist in you then, because you know there's a lot of quilters out there that have these rules, you know, as if there are rules. Cannot mix my fabrics. Well, no, I think you can mix your fabrics. You've proved it right here.
May I tell you why I do that?
Yes, you may definitely tell me why you do that.
Okay. As I was explaining, when me and my mom and sisters and stuff was making quilts at home, we used what we had on hand. And we had a lot of knit fabric, and knit fabric was the warmest fabric you could make a quilt out of. It would keep you so warm, that would be the only thing you would need on your bed. So I learned how you can take the knit fabric and line it with a stabilizer, which is more like a interfacing with the binding on it. You can line it with that. Once you stabilize your knit fabric, it's not going to stretch out of shape. You can go on and make your blocks. You can glue down your seams. When you iron them, they'll stay open, because I like pressing my seams open, especially when you're dealing with bulk. When I'm dealing with bulk, I want to try to eliminate much of that bulk as I can, because I do a lot of my quilting on my domestic juki.
Oh, okay. Yep. So you're right. I understand. I've recently become more of a fan of pressing my seams open as well, for the same reason, because it works better on my long arm when they're pressed open and nice and flat. You know, you're not going up and down those hills and valleys, but all making that needle bounce all over the place. So what, I was going to ask you too. So when you have your quilts done, where do they go next? Do you hang on to them all? Do you gift them? Do you sell them?
Well, I hang on to all of them except the few somebody requests me to make for them. And I have made a few for others, and it was commissioned, and they love them. They show it to everybody, and I have shared a few on my Facebook page that I done for somebody. And it's like, when I show my quilt and the design I done for somebody else, it's like everybody contacts me, want to purchase the other person quilt. Right. And it kind of be a little funny, but I say, I'm sorry, it's already taken. Somebody already, owned this one. They paid for this one. And I tell them, now, I know this pattern, I can always make another one.
Right.
But a lot of time they be looking at the fabric and stuff. It's certain fabric. It be secondhand used fabric. You can't just replace fabric because it have like maybe an antiquish to it, or it have a what they call you know, that American fabric, it have a certain print that is not being printed anymore.
Right. Right.
And they hard to come by. When I have them and present them, say they for sale, then yes, the first come, first serve can get that quilt.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's a great compliment though that people, when they see your work, reach out to you and want to own a piece of your work as well, isn't it? It makes you feel
Yeah.
like it's, you know, you haven't been working in vain, kind of a thing. And you know, as quilters, we tend to be modest, but sometimes we need our egos stroked, you know, to, you know, it's just something that makes us feel good. That's
Yeah.
what we should do, make us feel good. So let's change the questioning a little bit. And I want to ask you, and this is a very unfair question, because I'm going to ask you to label yourself as a type of quilter. Are you traditional, modern, freeform, experimental, exploratory? How would you label yourself?
Experimental freeform.
Okay, I was going to say I would think so, because you definitely, your quilts are art quilts. I would call them art quilts. From
Oh.
what I've seen of them as well. And I think in order for them to fall in that category, and I don't like categories and I don't like labels, because we do whatever is grabbing us at the moment, don't we? But yeah, experimental, freeform, I can definitely see that. And that takes a lot of creativity, because you're breaking out of the box, right? We're not following the pattern. We're making the pattern ourselves, kind of a thing. And I think that's what's another exciting element of quilting. For me, it is anyways. And I'm sure a lot of people find it that way too. So I'm assuming you are in your work area. So can you just...
Yes, I am, but it's a bit kind of cluttered here because I've been packing and hoping and praying to move out of here soon.
Okay, so is it, it looks like it might be the basement or downstairs?
Yes, basement.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where a lot of us end up, is in the basement.
Yeah.
Space.
I love being in the basement. It's quiet when my unit, air and heat unit, is not running. It's pretty quiet, and I can just get so much comfort here. When I'm comfortable quilting and sewing, I'll be right here all day.
Yep.
Bring a few snacks and just enjoy myself.
Yeah, I've heard the expression people use for that. It's our happy place.
Yeah.
Where, you know, the world is away from us, the troubles of the world, we can just do what we enjoy. And I think that is another aspect of quilting, is therapeutic, I think, as well. You know, it gives us some peace as well, unless we have to rip something out, and then it's all hell breaks loose. But what do you have a favorite tool or a technique? I would say your favorite technique is probably applique, but I could be wrong.
Well, applique is my favorite, and my favorite tool is my projector, because it allows me to continue to do what I love to do. My sewing machine is my best friend, but my projector is my favorite tool because it allows me to design. It allows me to bring my thoughts or my dreams to life, where you can put your hands on it and actually be creating something.
And I think the projector is a great idea. I have heard of other people using that as well before, but I have never tried it. And I do have a projector. I could try that. So again, another thing I've learned today. It gives me more food for thought here. So let's talk about your sewing machine. Do you have more than one sewing machine?
Oh my gosh, yes, I do. I have about maybe 15.
Oh my God.
I have some the older model ones that is not working properly, but with the right person working on it can get them running.
Right.
And I will not part with them because they are the black senior.
Yep.
It reminds you of the featherweight, but they're the bigger ones, not the featherweight. And I always loved those machines. That machine was the one I learned to sew on because I was doing school. It's a little story coming out of it. During my high school years, I took up home economics. And during that home economic class, my mother purchased a secondhand used sewing machine, and it was one of the black seniors. And it was heavy duty, had a lot of power to it, a lot of strength. I helped my mama put together quite a few quilts with that sewing machine. And even after I went on through life and grew up and got grown, I still was piecing and sewing and sending quilt tops home to my mom to sew. And when I had vacations and go home, I would either, help hand quilt some for her as well.
Yeah, those old machines, they're workhorses and they last forever. And I asked you how many machines you have because I know most quilters have several machines. At least I do as well. And each machine has its own unique personality, doesn't it? And
Yes, it does. You know, my 24, I have a senior 2404. I just, oh, that machine was my best friend before I started using the Juki. This is a Juki 2000 QL or QL, whichever one. But I've been had this Juki for a long time, over 10 years or so. And I would rather use that 2404 than to use this Juki.
oh yeah,
That 2404 had zigzag, all the different stitches, and I just fell in love with that machine. It had the little discs that you put in the disc in the top to get the stitch you wanted. And I have created some beautiful quilts with that machine.
yeah. Well, that's the thing about the machines. People who are not sewers or quilters don't understand our fascination with our machines. That's all. They haven't drank the Kool-Aid yet, I guess.
They'll get the flavor.
Yeah. So if you had all the money in the world, is there a piece of equipment you would invest in?
Of course. Yes, it is. I guess I'm going to have to come out the bag with it, but I recently got quotes on two long arm machines with the two frames that come with them. And I'm preparing myself to move back home. So this is two long arms that would be like a QNeek 21R or something like that. I have a quote on them, as well as a 12 head embroidery machine.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, I'm fascinated by embroidery machine. I have an embroidery machine, but mine is like a single thread one. It's not, but I've been looking at the multiple needle ones too because I love doing machine embroidery.
Well, I'm sorry. I priced that Racoma with the 12 heads, and they have 15 needles in each head. And I'm hoping to be able to invest in myself very soon. I'm hoping.
And what do you mean by that? Invest in yourself? Like a business?
Well, what I mean about investing in myself, we as quilters, we love what we do. It's not considered a job. A lot of people consider their hobby to be a job. They can make it produce an income for them, but it's a love in doing this. When you're doing something you love to do, it's a hobby that you love to do that can produce the income you need to take care of yourself or your family or whatever the situation might be.
Yeah.
But I say I invest in myself because when you're a quilter, you have to do something every day. If you're feeling good and not sick, you do something every day towards your dream. You just prepare yourself to make your life better each and every day.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right about that. And if I have a day and I'm not sewing, it's a bad day. I mean, I'm on, even if it's only for 10 or 20 minutes, but usually it's longer than that. But yeah, every day. And I'm a very new quilter. I've only been doing this for about 5 years. And I absolutely love it. For all the reasons you've already mentioned about the different things about quilting, but because it is so highly creative and I consider myself a creative, and I have to be always exploring new techniques and new things and everything. So many things hit me all at once that I get overwhelmed with what I want to do. So yeah, I agree. You know, it's investing in yourself. It's investing in your happiness, really.
Right.
We need to be happy because the
Yeah.
world's not a happy place, you know. So, you know, we come down to our happy place, immerse ourselves in our creative abilities with our sewing machines and things like that, and let the world go to you know where. Because
They'll be all right. Soon as they get the clue, they'll be all right. To invest in your happy time. Your happiness is important to you. So I do encourage others to invest in themselves.
yes,
Big time.
I think that's
Even if you just go, I'm sorry, but even if you, this something else I do. I go to the thrift stores, and if I don't have the fabric I want, like blue jean fabric. Now they have different color blue jean fabric. They have the white jeans, the blue jean, the brown jean, and black jeans. If you're going to make a blue jean quilt, invest time in yourself and go pick out you 20, 30 pair of jeans to bring home to strip down to make fabric out of. And that's what I do.
Yeah. And it's investing in yourself, but you're also investing in the environment because it's recycling, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That's a really great idea. So, you know, quilting can be a very isolated kind of craft, I guess, or art. Call it an art. I don't like to use the word craft with quilting. It's an art. But you know, we do like to get together with fellow quilters because we're all part of the same tribe kind of thing. So have you ever belonged to an in-person group or an online group?
Yes, I think I have. I have some groups on my Facebook page and, you know, Facebook that I do participate in, but lately I haven't been able to participate like I used to. I have fabric swap groups that I love, that I be in. They pick a thing, say for instance, is food. Anything food fabric, you can do fat quarters in and swap out fat quarters. You can choose to be in one group or 4 groups. You just have to know what you're doing, and remember, you have to mail those blocks off to be fair to others.
Right, right. Yeah. So now with COVID, and we all became a little bit isolated during COVID and that kind of thing, I discovered the wonderful world of Zoom and that kind of thing, which I absolutely love getting together with other people on Zoom for a sew day or a quilting day kind of a thing. And you've been part of some of the ones that I have done as well, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Would you, if you were to go to a group, do you prefer going to, say, like a retreat, or do you prefer doing it more online through Zoom?
Mm. Now that one's tricky for me because I have never been to a retreat. I couldn't speak about the retreat, but if I had the opportunity, I'm pretty sure that I would go to the retreat for hands-on sharing with others.
Right.
And I love the Zoom as well. I love sharing, and I love sharing what I know, because a lot of the stuff that I do, I learn kind of on my own.
Yeah.
I started out with my mom, you know, real young. And back then I was drawing patterns. I was doing stuff, and later they came out. Somebody designed them as a true pattern. But I said, mine will always be the name that I gave it. It will always be what I designed it for. Even making clothes, I was making baby dresses and stuff without a pattern. I created my own pattern to do that as well. It's just, how determined are you to do what you love to do?
Yeah, that's very true. And I like the Zoom retreats. I've been to regular retreats too, but I prefer the Zoom now because all my stuff is here. I don't have to pack it up, take it with me, and you always forget something when you go like that. But now, it's all here at my fingertips. I can't forget anything. I may have to find it. That's a different story. But, and that's why I love about, and I think if anything good came out of COVID, it was maybe Zoom.
Yes.
Because, well, we wouldn't be doing this right now if it hadn't been for Zoom, would we? So, yeah. So let's turn our attention then to your where you get your materials. Now, you said you go to thrift stores. You use a lot of used vintage fabric. Now, do you have any certain quilt shops that in your area that you go to, or do you buy all online plus what you do with the thrift stores?
I basically would have to order mine online. Now, I have a long armor. She done started purchasing fabric. Excuse me. And I have a quilt shop. If it's still there in Carmel, Indiana, I can go there as well. And I've been kind of learning there's a lot of quilt shops around. I just haven't discovered them all yet.
Right.
I do dream of traveling to Missouri Star sometime in the future, I hope. And I do dream of traveling to Paducah, Kentucky.
And I know.
Yes, those two places is surrounding me. They in my area, and yes, I want to go there someday. It's a dream, and I will not give up on my dreams.
Yep, I want to go those places too as well. For me, it's a little further since I'm in Canada, but
right.
Yeah, Missouri Star Quilt is definitely on my list to get to as well. And I'm going to take a lot of money with me. Save my pennies kind of a thing, because I know I'll be buying a lot of stuff. I may have to drive to Missouri to get there because I'll never get it all on a plane. But that's down the road. I don't know when that's going to happen. It will happen, but I just don't know when. So
for you, I got a dream of coming to Canada to come. Oh, Jesus, help me! I have a dream of coming to Canada as well.
Why?
Well, I would like to meet you, and I would like to meet Miss Laura Lynn and do some sewing.
Oh, that would be fun. Well, if you ever, decide for sure you're going to, you let me know. And I'll show you a good time for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Okay, I'm going to change again the questioning. I'm going to ask you now. Now, this is a question that you probably can't answer because you don't need to answer it, because you've been doing all of this since you were just a little girl. But are there any favorite so-called experts or sources of information where you like to go to if you're trying to maybe get some inspiration or learn a new technique or something like that?
Yes, it is. Actually, I'm interested in building a library of information where I can teach others, because I love teaching children too how to sew, and I can only teach what I know.
Right.
The things I don't know is the hindering part, and I don't like being hindered. Like quilt shows, I was interested in the entry or getting into quilt shows to show off some of my quilts and my work. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot out there. I'm interested in designing patterns, and I want to get into learning how to computerize, and do it, to design it on a computer.
Right.
And those right there are the two main things that I am interested into getting into to learn, so I can share my knowledge with others. everybody that like to sew and quilt is not quite fortunate, you know. I want to be able to help someone to pass the love on. I want to be able to say, here, you can take this sewing machine and here you a stack of fabric. Let me see what you can do. You know,
Yeah.
just be you and be your own creativity. I mean, you could take a pattern that been around 50 or 70 years and make it your own.
Mhm. Yes. That's another
And
thing about quilting I love.
that's some of the things I love to see and do.
Now you say do you actually teach children how to sew?
Yes.
And how do you do that? Do you do that in a physical location, or do they come to you, or do you do it
Right
online?
now, they just been coming to me. They'll come to me and I would let them sew on my machine I have up now because it's more like one at a time. And I do have plans when I was talking about the two long arm and embroidery machines and stuff. I have all the other domestic machines that I'm going to set up when I return home. I'm having a shop put up, a quilt shop,
Ah,
and I will have my plans is to set up at least maybe 10 sewing machines on the inside
okay.
where I'll be able to teach my community how to sew for free. And I always say I do it for free because if you're going to teach somebody something and they want to learn bad enough, the least they can do is show up.
Exactly. Yes. That's a good philosophy. Yeah. Show up, and I'll show you how to do this. So I was going to ask you then, have you considered, and I'm leading into to talking about your YouTube channel, have you considered teaching people on YouTube?
Yes, I have. And I might have one or two videos already up where I was maybe teaching my nieces and my granddaughter and another young man how to sew. You know, start off making just the basic, you know, teaching them how to make a straight stitch and the difference in the seam allowance because sometimes people don't know what these lines or markings are for on the sewing machine and don't nobody really speak too much about those markings.
That's true.
And I just teach them in school. You know, I was taught you have to learn those. Those your seam allowance. You use a certain seam allowance for making clothing and a certain one for sewing and making quilts. And then it come a point when you can use like maybe 1/16 of a, you know, small thing for certain things when it's needed.
Yeah, it's true. So let's talk a little bit more about your YouTube channel then. How long have you had a YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel has been active for a little over 9 years now. And I have like one or two videos on there that is a skincare product, and the rest of them is all sewing and quilting and piecing, and it
I've been
just took
watching,
off.
I've been watching them and catching up on it, and I find them very, very, very informative and very inspirational as well. And I recommend to everybody to check out your YouTube channel, and the link for your YouTube channel will be in the show notes for this as well, so people can go and check all those out. So why did you
Thank
start?
you.
You're welcome. Why did you start it?
I started my YouTube channel because I was looking for a database where I can store videos to save on how to learn how to quilt or how to start quilting. And YouTube was the platform that struck me the most comfortable to
Right.
be able to do that. And once I started, I didn't give up. I just kept it going. It'll be 10 years come next year, March the 11th. And I'm going to be so excited. I'm sitting here creating things now, making little sewing kits, you know. This is something I had to draw out. I did it with crumbs. I do a lot of talking about crumb piecing and how some of the smallest stuff I just don't throw out. I can use it in something like this. And I'm going to add some snaps to this. And I'm trying to do about maybe 50 of them for now, because I know I'm going to be giving them away.
Yeah, yeah, true. I was going to say they make great little gifts, and especially if you're teaching kids how to sew. Wouldn't that be nice? You're teaching a child and they get to go away with, a little sewing kit for themselves. I'm sure that'd be something they would really love to have. So you've already mentioned some of your goals and things, opening up basically a school in a sense for teaching sewing and things like that, what you're doing with your other projects. Do you have any other goals or challenges in the future for yourself?
Well, I do. I recently got a printed quote for a Class A RV, and it is stunning. And upon my sewing, my sewing journey, when things go to changing for me, I will be insured so I can travel the 50 states. I want to be insured in case whoever I'm teaching sew a finger, hurt themselves, or anything, that I'll be covered. And I want to be able to teach others how to bring out what they love to do. I have met a lot of young children that can draw, and they want to learn how to sew. And within that drawing, you got a lot of potentials if you can draw. Your drawing can literally come to life as art, embroidery art. I don't know if you can see my machine. Let me tilt it a little bit. Can you see that?
Yes, you can.
I took the foot off. Here's the foot here. Now, this is my Juki. I took the foot off, and I've been kind of embroidering, writing onto this next sewing kit I'm doing. And I'm just embroidering hashtag Campbell's Creation, learning to quilt on the front.
Wow.
And this can be did by embroidery like that, or it can be did by vinyl, heat press vinyl. And I'm just going to see what I can do. I like discovering, new things, coming up with different ways to do stuff. Everything don't have to be the same. Even if you change color doing something in a different pattern, you might have saw a quilt where I add patches to my quilt. Yep. I love patches. I really do. And embroidery is a good way to get more patches, or create them or buy them from somebody that do make patches. And it's just thinking outside the box, come up with your own ideas, and don't let nobody tell you no, that can't be done. You just have to sit down, study it out, and get it done.
And I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? It doesn't work out. It's just fabric and thread.
Right.
The thing. But I do like that philosophy about thinking outside the box. I like to intermix with my quilting embroidery as well. But use my embroidery machine for that. But a lot of people think, the sewing machine sews, the embroidery machine embroiders, the two should cross over. Well, you're limiting yourself if you don't experiment, I think. So my last question for you then is, do you have any advice for anyone who might want to get started into quilting?
Yes, I do. I encourage anyone that has the desire and want to learn to start. Just start anywhere you can. Whether you go to your local library, pick up some quilting books, read about it. If they have patterns, make patterns from the book. If they allow that, go ahead and store your library. Get your library, because once you start, you will love it even more. And you will find what you like to do. You ask yourself, you know, what is it about this that I love doing that makes me happy? And you're going to want to keep yourself happy. You just keep doing stuff to make yourself happy. Stay encouraged. Don't let nobody talk you down or break your spirit by calling your stuff junk or whatever they want to call it. Because I have had people call my quilt blankets. And a lot of time people don't realize when you calling a quilter's product a blanket, that is highly offensive. But you have to be strong enough, you know, in your mind to say, okay, this is not a blanket. It's a quilt. It's handmade piece by piece, and it costs way more than a blanket.
Yes.
Once you can edify them on the correct term of what you're doing, then you can move on. You won't let nobody talk you down. You won't let nobody throw you down or put you down. You're going to always remain positive in everything you do. Just keep going forward. I'm going to tell you, I tell everybody, never, ever give up on your dream.
I think that is excellent advice, and yeah, and well said. So, do you have any parting words before I say goodbye and thank you for this great interview?
Well, I really don't, but I can say use what you have. If you want to learn to quilt and don't have a sewing machine, use the needle and thread. Get you some good cutting scissors. Get you some needles like I have here in this kit. I have about 5 needles in this kit here. I have safety pins. I have a needle threader. And I made my own little cards here to wrap thread on. And I will be wrapping thread. This is a paper measuring ruler. If you don't have this, you can take one of the Dollar Tree's measuring ruler and just put in your little kit. Or you can get these little kits at Dollar Tree. I get them like this, and they come with tons and tons of needles. It come with thread. It come with a thimble. There's a little plastic thimble in here. Right here is purple. See, can I get that close? In there is purple. That's really $1.25 will get you started. $1.25 will get you started. And keep going. I also make my stuff in bulks. I don't know if you want to make them bulk, but I am trying to encourage you. When you make your stuff, do at least 10 or 20 or more. Just set your goals. You work on your goals each and every day.
Yep.
That's pretty much it.
Well, I want to thank you so much for this interview. There's so much food for thought here you've given us, both on creative visions and inspiration, and just a wealth of information. I wish you the best of luck with your goals and your dreams. And
thank you.
Thank you so much for this interview. And I know I will be seeing you again online. So thanks again, Ellen.
Thank you too, Stephen. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.